Hey guys, I just want to quickly mention before we get into this exciting Belgian Grand Prix that this video is most likely one of the final full race highlights you'll see from Season 8. As you know, we've been falling quite far behind over the course of the season, so most of the remaining races are likely to be concluded as shorter race recap videos, with possibly one or two more full highlights in there, which is to be decided, but after that, focus for the AOR League will switch to Season 9 on F1 2014, which is starting in only a few weeks. So now that you know that, let's get this show on the road.
Hello everyone and welcome to round 10 of the AOR F1 2013 Season 8 Championship. It's the Belgian Grand Prix. We're racing around the circuit to Spa Francorchamps today. An absolute legendary circuit, a favourite amongst most of the drivers, and it has produced some brilliant races in the past. 19 turns, 7 kilometres and 22 laps await the drivers this afternoon. And commentating with me this afternoon, it's Justin.
Hey Matty, yeah, thanks for having me back. Very excited about this one. As you said, Spa is a favorite among the drivers and the commentators as well, so should be a great race.
It really should. Looking at Season 7, you can see that TRL Limitless came away with the victory ahead of TRL Martin and Noble coming home in third. The Season 7 pole position also went to Limitless with a 1:44.9. So what are we waiting for? Let's go and take a look at the qualifying report and see where the drivers line up.
In this qualifying comparison at Spa, we have Brosic 96 and championship contender TRL Limitless. Down towards turn 1, La Source, the tight right-hand hairpin at 50 miles an hour under the slowest corners we go to. Down the straight now, downhill, both guys using their entire curse tanks to gain maximum speed towards the legendary Eau Rouge and Radalon, 190 miles an hour, flat out as you dare. And then onto the Kemmel straight now, open the DRS wing and heading down towards the Coombe at 205 miles an hour. Down from 7 to second gear for the Coombe, and as you can see, Limitless very marginally is ahead as he goes right, left, and then right through the complex. Be careful of the AstroTurf and the gravel on the exit. Now towards the slow first-hand right-hander, Bruxelles. It goes on forever. We've got to be careful when to put the power down. Switch back over to the right-hand side for turn 11, just in fourth gear, almost flat out actually. Downhill again now towards Pujon, 190 down to 170 miles an hour, barely lifting off the throttle as you come back towards the apex on the exit, back into 7th, 190 miles an hour down towards turns 13 and 14. Again, being very careful of the gravel runoff areas through here and through Stavelot in turn 15 now, in second, up into third now, and now flat out. And as you can see through the Sector 2 split, Limitless still very marginally ahead as we come down towards Blanchimont, up into 6th and 7th, 190 miles an hour, flat out through here. Be very careful not to run out too wide. And then up towards 200 miles an hour towards the final bus stop chicane. Down into first, 60 miles an hour. Be careful of the sausage curbs, don't take too much of it. And finally, hard on the power on the exit and towards the finish line. And there, kids, is what 5 thousandths of a second looks like. And celebrating his first pole in AOR history, Brosic 96 narrowly edges out TRL Limitless by just 5 thousandths of a second. To run you down one of the closest qualifying grids I have ever seen, let me hand you back to Matthew and Justin.
So it is Brosic in the Marussia who steals pole position with a 1:44.748, a mere 5 thousandths of a second faster than TRL Limitless in second place. Another 200ths off that is TRL Rosberg in the other Marussia, followed by xMattyG in the other Red Bull, only 400ths separating the top 4. Fisi Fan gets one of his better qualifying positions in 5th, just ahead of the Flying Irishman Ricky C in the Mercedes, only 7 thousandths separating them. Citizen starts from 7th in the only Sauber on the grid, while Leobot starts alongside him in the old Toro Rosso. Row 5 is all Ferrari, with TRL Maisie edging out his teammate TRL Minty by less than 300ths of a second. Just behind the Ferraris come the 2 Caterhams of the Continents and Trace Me 92, while the Living Dead starts from dead last but will be the only driver starting today's race on the prime tire. KPTK in the Williams was unable to attend today's race in Belgium, and Powerpuff has disappeared from the league entirely. And now it's time for the Belgian Grand Prix.
It's race time. It's the Belgian Grand Prix. It's xMattyG and FakeGhostPirate commentating for you this afternoon. Light cloud, no % chance of rain for this race, which means it's only the dry compound tyres that we are going to be seeing the drivers on. So, Justin, it's been a while, but Spa Francorchamps, a legendary circuit. Who's your money on?
Well, I mean, you'd be silly not to pick one of the Red Bulls. You really would. They've been extremely competitive all season, and they're pretty close to the front. So it should be a good battle between them.
0.04 of a second separating the top four. Absolutely crazy as the lights are coming on now. We have 5 lights. And the lights are out and away we go for the Belgian Grand Prix. Brochek starting on pole position, getting a decent start with Limitless just behind. Matty taking the outside line into turn 1 and Fisi taking a very tight line. And Matty's maintained 4th position, Fisi 5th, and Ricky running on to the rumble strips on the curbs in 6th position. And Fisi and Ricky may well go side by side coming towards Eau Rouge, but Fisi looking like he's got a little bit better straight line speed in that Williams. As we now come up Eau Rouge, there's not been any contact so far as I'm aware, as Limitless is now in the slipstream, which you've seen all too often in these Belgian Grand Prix with the slipstream from 2nd place, and Limitless is up into 1st place, but Brochek still has the inside but breaks earlier. Limitless locking up his front right, which means he's now off the road, and that's Rosberg as well up the inside, and Matty his teammate. So Limitless down to 4th, and maybe that was just an amateur mistake from Limitless.
Yeah, absolutely. It does happen, though, even to the best of us. It's pretty easy to lock up coming down that very long Kemmel straight at high speed. So it can happen to anybody, but certainly that's not what Limitless was looking for on lap 1.
Definitely not. So Limitless down to 4th. His rival and championship contender and teammate is now ahead of him in 3rd position. Limitless trails Matty by 15 points, so it'll be crucial for him to take the victory or take some sort of points away from Matty in the championship as we come towards the second half of the season. Leobot now in 8th position in the Toro Rosso, hassling Maisie like no tomorrow in that Ferrari, and we're now with Ricky C in 6th place, right behind Fisi once again. Can he get past him? He's put it up into rich fuel mixture, but he has no KERS to use at the moment, so they may well go side by side as we're coming through the Ardennes forest. And Fisi is just about managing to maintain 5th position at the moment, but they are so close as they come down towards the bus stop chicane. And Brochek's got a tap from Rosberg, and I think Matty made some contact with the Marussia driver of TRL Rosberg, as Rosberg has not been able to make the chicane, which means Rosberg is now down to last position, and Matty now has a choice on his hands as to whether or not he felt he was responsible for that incident.
Yeah, well, that was certainly a tough one. It looked like the two Marussias coming together and then Matty getting involved there. And unfortunately for Rosberg, that has dropped him down to dead last. So it's going to be quite a challenge for him even to get into the points, never mind a podium or a win or anything like that. Just to get into the points, it's going to be a real challenge here as Limitless going side by side with Matty. And wow, look at that straight line speed. Nope, and Matty is dropping back. Matty is dropping back on the Kemmel straight there. He's gonna give up that position.
So a huge twist in the championship fight for this AOR Season 8. Limitless is in 2nd place now. Matty's had to drop right down to the back of the field as he now challenging. 1st position is Limitless up the inside of Brochek, and Brochek now has to settle back down into 2nd, which I'm sure he's not going to be too fussed about because 18 points will be fantastic for his championship. But anyway, they are so close at the moment, just like they were in qualifying. Everybody is battling all the way down the field, and you can see on the mini-map this is not over by any stretch of the imagination. Rosberg and Matty right at the back of the field, but I'm sure we have got some entertaining action yet to come in these next 20 or so laps.
Yep, and if Limitless can take home the win, and if Matty finishes below 5th position, then that's going to actually give Limitless the championship lead after this race, which just shows you how quickly things can change in the championship.
That is crazy to think, isn't it? So Limitless now in the prime spot, which he didn't think so after lap 1 when he'd made that mistake and Matty was ahead of him, but Brochek braking quite early for the bus stop chicane on the end of the 1st lap, caught out Rosberg, which in turn caught out Matty, and then there was a sort of a domino effect and Matty hit Rosberg, and therefore that is the reason why Matty is at the back of the field with Rosberg, because Rosberg couldn't actually slow down. As we're now on board with Leobot going round the outside of Fisi Fan. What a fantastic move from the Toro Rosso driver there. Up into 5th place is Leobot, as we now have a replay of the start with Limitless getting a pretty much, well, comparable start to Brochek, you have to say, and Rosberg not getting off the line too well, which we've seen all too many times already, but Limitless running actually quite wide into turn 1, but getting away with it due to the camber of the corner. And we now have Citizen making a little bit of contact with the Mercedes, and then contact from the rear as well, which causes rear to step out and then lose all traction. So Citizen losing a couple of spots there, and here's Leobot, who's up into 5th place at the moment. He was down in 9th at that particular moment, and Living Dead, who started last, taking the inside line And does that actually pay any dividends? Not really. Nope, back down to last.
Yeah, he's on the prime tires too, so the opening laps are going to be pretty tough for him while the track is still very green on that hard compound tire. But if he could just manage to keep up with the rest of the pack, then he's going to be in a really good position later on in the race.
So Learbot there going up into 8th position, and this is Ricky C challenging Fisi on, actually at the start of lap 1, and this is where they're going side by side down towards this right-hander in the end of sector 1, and that's where Limitless goes off, and Ricky and Fisi almost side by side throughout that entire part of the corners, and then Fisi maintaining 5th position at this moment in time. And yeah, so just coming under a lot of pressure from Ricky C. So Ricky wanting to pull off some amazing moves, and this is the replay again of Brochek just about managing to get away with going over the chicane. And I think he may have actually gained a bit of time, if anything. But here's a sort of a zoom in. So yeah, I think Brochek braking a little bit early caused Matty to then hit Rosberg, and then Matty doing the sensible thing and waiting for Rosberg at the end of, well, at the start of lap 2.
Yeah, it's great to see that level of sportsmanship. It's really wonderful. I mean, this is the top of the top. This is as high as it gets for F1 racing, and I mean, to see that level of respect from these guys is really fantastic. You would expect it, but at the same time, it's very refreshing. And we're on board with Ricky C now, and we could see actually, I was kind of wow. There goes Brochek. Right at the end of the Keppel Straight, it looks like possibly some contact between him and the Mercedes of Ricky C. But I was just about to say, Brochek doing a great job keeping up with Limitless. You would have expected that Limitless maybe would have started to pull away with his pace in that Red Bull, but no, Brochek doing a fantastic job showing that pace that he's got.
Yeah, so Brochek looking like he had a bit of contact from Ricky C from behind, so possibly the Mercedes driver will be told to let the Marussia back through. As we can see, Matty down in 11th still at the moment as we're on lap 3. So Rosberg, I'm pretty sure, is somewhere around there as well, as we're now on board with the Sauber of Citizen and now the Caterham of Tracy 92 challenging his teammate, the Contadins, who's actually they completely messed Tracy 92's lineup, and Living Dead has come straight through on those prime tyres. So the Mercedes up into 9th place, Ricky C's teammate, as Ricky has now gone purple in the middle sector, and Brochek hasn't, but then Ricky's lost the back end or something, or just got onto the grass.
He's letting off, I think.
Oh, okay, Ricky is letting him through. That would probably make more sense. Well done, Matt. But yeah, so Brochek is up into 2nd place, but Ricky, I'm sure, is not going to come back at him straight away, because that would be sort of Lewis Hamilton, Kimi Raikkonen-esque from real life F1, if I'm not mistaken, from 2007, I think it was. But anyway, Tracy 92 and Living Dead getting very close once again into the bus stop chicane, as we now have Citizen all over the back of Fizzy Fan, and it seems like the Williams driver is going backwards at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. Very difficult. I mean, this has been a very interesting race. There's been a surprising amount of contact between teammates, which, you know, you see every once in a while, but considering we're only 3 laps into the race, there's been contact between the Marussias, there's been contact between the Caterhams, I think there was a little bit of light contact between the Red Bulls, but right now, after 3 laps of racing, you can definitely see Limitless is so far down the road. I mean, it's going to be a real challenge for anyone to even get in his DRS zone, as we see Ricky C going up the inside at the end of the Keppel Straight there. Fantastic move on Brochek there, and he gets that pass done legitimately finally.
Yes, as you mentioned, Limitless with the superior pace at the moment, but it wasn't really that in qualifying, as you saw how close it was. So maybe Ricky and Brochek and Learbot and those guys can start to work together and use the slipstream to their advantage rather than battling unnecessarily, as it is only the start of the race. As we now have Learbot putting himself up into 4th position possibly, as he's going to go side by side with TRL Maisie in the Ferrari, and making that move stick as well does Learbot. So a fantastic race so far for the Toro Rosso driver, you have to say. Probably one of his most impressive performances, as Matty goes past Trace Me and up into the points. So Matty with that single points paying position at the moment, as we're now on board with Limitless, and now to Learbot, who's now chasing down Brochek for a potential podium position, with Ricky not too far ahead as well, as Brochek now peels into the... Oh, everybody's coming into the pits pretty much. The Ferrari, Williams, Sauber, lots of guys peeling into the pits, as you can see. The tyres aren't lasting too well, especially the medium compound tyres, as Limitless carries on, as he's done many times before this season, to try and get, well, to have a little bit fresher tyres at the end of his next stint.
Yep, and it has paid off for him in the past several times. I mean, it's certainly been helpful. I think Silverstone specifically was a great example of that, as Fizzy Fan has a terrible pit stop, nearly 6-second pit stop, and that's really going to hold him up. And it looks like a lot of people going for the prime tire, but with this many people, as that's the Living Dead just flying by the Contadins now. They're up into 4th and 5th after everybody's pitting, as Rosberg's coming on Citizen now, and he's going to have the DRS as well, and I'm sure sure he's just going to pull out that gap. Yep, no problems there. But yeah, this is looking like a two-stop race with people stopping as early as lap 4. I can't imagine anybody doing 18 laps on a set of prime tires.
No way in hell. With a 7-kilometre track, I don't think you're going to do another 17 laps on one set of tyres. So it'd probably be 2 prime stints for the race. So be interesting to see when people pit. Limitless, I'm sure, is going to be coming into the pits at the end of this lap as he's now choosing his tyres. And he's going to go on to some prime tyres as well. So I'm guessing because he had the lead, as he goes quite wide into the bus stop chicane, which compromises his entry into the pit lane ever so slightly, as Ricky C and Leobot and Continents all coming into the pits as well. So these guys will have slightly fresher tyres towards the end of their next stint. So that'll be interesting to see if they can start to pull away or even catch the cars ahead or behind them. So as Limitless gets a reasonably good pit stop, slightly delayed, and same for the Living Dead as well. So these guys, oh no, it wasn't the Living Dead, it was Ricky C, sorry, as Leobot now comes out the pits as well. Everybody's coming out the pits, so many changes of tyres. 3.1 seconds for the Continents, as Matty is, I just saw him pop up there, but now he's disappeared again. But Rosberg looking like he's making up some ground, whereas Matty's still in 10th position. So it's looking like the championship leaders struggling a little bit to get through the pack, as the pace is so close between everybody, as we saw in qualifying.
Yeah, definitely. It is very close here, as we see Brochek and Ricky C, who were very close in qualifying as well. Or I'm sorry, no, they weren't as close as some others, but it's still Brochek going up the inside. Oh no, and there's been some contact between them. Ricky C locks the fronts after the contact, and now he's coming under attack from the Ferrari of TRL Maisie just behind. But it looks like he's going to be able to cover him off pretty easily as they come into this very long downhill right-hander just before the curve with no name, and on lap 6 now. And everybody's on those prime tires now, so that's going to be a little interesting to see what everybody's prime tire stints, what their times are looking like, as Traceme takes the lead of the race very briefly before losing it once again to the Living Dead, who is still on that first set of prime tires. I got to imagine he's going to be going till at least lap 8.
So Traceme 92 looking like he's going to maybe stretch his option tyres out a little bit, as he's still on them at the end of lap 6. Is he going to pin into the pits yet? No, he's not. He's going to try a one-stop strategy by the looks of things as the Caterham driver. Traceme 92 popping up into these highlight videos all of a sudden and not sitting down in 11th and 12th places and bringing up the rear. So that's good to see that the Caterham driver is trying a different strategy than everybody else. As you can see, everyone else is battling like no tomorrow at the moment. Rosberg up into 7th now, as Citizen looks to the outside of the Mauritia driver, but he can't make it stick as he loses the back end. And in fact, Rosberg goes up the inside of the Ferrari, and they're now side by side going up towards Eau Rouge, and there's slight contact by the looks of things as well. But Rosberg has cleared the Ferrari of TRL Maisie, and he is up into 6th place. So Rosberg having a good comeback drive at the moment, considering it is only lap 7, and we've got a long way to go in this race, as Ricky C now uses DRS back on Brochek. So these two cannot be separated in the slightest, and Citizen is coming back at Rosberg and Maisie as well. So these guys cannot be separated either at the moment, but Rosberg just about manages to stay ahead in 6th place, and there's a few cars behind as well, as Maisie loses the Ferraris slightly, and they're now side by side coming down towards this downhill right-hander, and Citizen's going to hang it round the outside. Can he get on the power earlier than the Ferrari? He's going to have the inside line for the corner with no name, and it looks like Citizen will make it stick. No! The Ferrari's come back once again. Maisie with grit and determination, with Leobot going up the inside by the looks of things, and Matty round the outside. So there's like 4 cars in the space of about 2 metres, and Citizen's lost about 3 places in the same amount of corners. So Citizen down to 10th, Matty in 9th, and Fisi Fan now overtaking Citizen, and soon Citizen, the Sauber driver, is going to be in last place, and he is!
Unbelievable. Wow. And I was just about to comment on how well he was driving. Really fantastic stuff from Citizen there, but it just seems like he got mobbed as they went 3 wide into Puan, which is really not a corner you want to be going 2 wide into, never mind 3 wide. And then xMattyG just came out of nowhere there and took a couple of positions, and yeah, Citizen down into last place now from, I don't even know what position he was in before, but that is incredible. And it's really unfortunate too, because he had a really nice move there at the end of the Kemmel Straight, going side by side and then making the undercut. And oh no, as the Continents and Fisi Fan have a little bit of contact at Blanchimont, and Fisi running a little wide through there. But yeah, I was just gonna say, Citizen looked like he was driving really well, but unfortunately for him, he just got mobbed and all the way down into last place.
Just shows how close this race is. The fact that Citizen's now down to last place from, I think he was in about 7th. So that's crazy to think he's lost about 5 places in 1 lap. As we're now with Ricky C and Brochek still battling, and Fisi Fan having a go at the Continents after their slight contact on the last lap. but Constance maintains that single points paying position for the moment. And Fisi having a pretty lackluster race at the moment, you have to say, in 11th place, and he was up in 5th at one point. So it just shows that a few thousandths in qualifying gets you up the grid, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to stay there. As Limitless, the, I guess, net race leader, has come up to Trace92, and Limitless has got a decent lead at the moment, but he'll want to dispatch these guys as quickly as possible, as Trace is still on the same option tyres as he was at the start of the race. And I'm assuming he will have had fresh tyres rather than ones that have had a qualifying run on them. So Trace is trying to pull off a one-stop strategy here, and you have to say he's got some reasonable pace at the moment, as he's only just been caught by Limitless. So Trace may well put himself up into the points at some point and get some good stuff for his championship.
Yeah, possibly. He's definitely nursing these tires surprisingly well, actually. You got to say, in the Caterham here, and it does look like he is going to be diving into the pits at the end of lap 8 here. Yep, and he does. So that means he's going to need to do 14 laps on a set of the prime tires. After doing 8 laps on the options, I'd say that's just about possible. But probably the last 2 to 4 laps of that prime stint are going to be really, really tough for him.
Yeah, he's going to be struggling at the end of the race no matter what. I mean, the one-stop strategy, I think he knows he's going to be struggling, but then again, he has to come into the pits one less time. But at the same time, the Spa pit lane isn't actually that long, so Trace is going to have to put in some decent lap times and some consistent lap times, especially towards the end of his stint, to make sure that he gets some good points. As Limitless now goes past the Living Dead, back up into first position. Living Dead will not make it very hard for him whatsoever, whereas Broshek and Ricky C are making it hard for each other at the moment, as they are still battling over what is technically a net second place, but Rosberg is well and truly within striking distance, as Fisi is in 10th place now after somebody pitting, I'm assuming, and or maybe it was when he overtook Citizen, but either way, Fisi in 1 points paying position at the moment, as Ricky C is now right behind Broshek, once again coming towards the bus stop chicane, and Broshek braking at the right time this time on lap 9 rather than lap 1, where it was a little bit catching a few people out, but Broshek has managed to sort out his braking points at the moment. He's in 3rd, and he's keeping Ricky C ahead of him at the moment, as Ricky C sets a 47.7, which is his personal best of the race, which is always a good thing to see that green thing pop up. But obviously I think with the fact he's being 1.2 seconds quicker than his last lap, that maybe he had a bit of a mistake on that last one. But anyway, Fisi also setting a personal best as well by the looks of things, and Ricky C is now going to have DRS on the Mauritia, and you can see the closing distance is so quick that Ricky surely is going to get past him before the end. Yep, there you go, absolutely easy peasy, and he's got a little bit of curves left to maybe defend, as they will come down that back straight, which is also extremely powerful when you're in the slipstream.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best thing you could do for yourself, is try and save yourself a little bit of curves for that run down towards Blanchimont, which we're seeing the Living Dead and his teammate Ricky C has already caught up to him. So Ricky C is actually an entire pit stop ahead of the Living Dead at the moment. Of course, the Living Dead has yet to put on the option tires, but actually, I mentioned earlier, the Living Dead was probably going to be doing about 8 laps on the primes if he was going to be looking to do that sort of strategy. But actually, here we are at the end of lap 10. Living Dead still staying out, so I gotta think that he is also attempting a one-stop strategy, which means we may not see him stop until lap 13, 14, 15, something like that.
Yeah, definitely. If Trace92 strategy is anything to go by, and the fact that he went to the end of lap 8, I'm sure Living Dead would have tried to sort of see if when Trace pitted. But yeah, he'll have to go to at least sort of lap 13, 14 if he wants to make it to the end of the race without going into a wall. As Living Dead's probably hoping that he can stay within the DRS range of the guys ahead, which he has done. And Rosberg is right behind him. So Rosberg looking decent for a podium at the moment. And Broshek hitting the back of Ricky C by the looks of things, and Living Dead getting in the mix of these guys despite having completely warm prime tyres, and making slight contact a couple of times with Broshek, and Rosberg's right behind as well. Living Dead not getting out the way, and why should he really? He's trying to make his strategy work, and essentially he's thinking, well, I've only got to pit one more time as well, lads, so I'm not going to get out of the way. So Living Dead making it a kind of a roadblock for himself. But anyway, a replay now of Constance coming back at Fisi. So Fisi managed to get ahead of the Caterham, and Constance now coming back at the Williams driver and making it stick as well. So Constance up into 9th place.
Yeah, slight contact there between the two of them, but really nothing major, just rubbing a little bit of wheels there. Also worth mentioning, oh wow, his Living Dead runs very wide and into the gravel, and he is just struggling to put the power down. As Fisi Fan as well on his much fresher tires, going for a little bit of a dip into the gravel as well before they come down for the very long run towards Blanchimont here. But the Living Dead as well, I think he may have been hassling those Marussias, considering that his teammate Ricky C was not far up the road. So I think possibly, I don't know for sure, but possibly the teams may have come into that as well. So he may have been trying to hold up those Marussias as much as he could for his Mercedes teammate Ricky C.
Very possible, but he's coming to the pits now, so Living Dead will definitely not get to the end of the race with a 10-lap stint on the options, and if he does, then my God, he has managed to nurse those tyres well, but it doesn't look like he nursed the primes very well. Maybe it'll be a little bit different for the options, but we saw at the end of Trace's stint that he could only get to the end of lap 8, so it's going to be interesting to see what Living Dead does here, if he does 2 5-lap stints on the options or what, but he is right dead last now because of how slow he was going towards the end of that stint. As we're now with Citizen in the Sauber, now right behind and alongside Trace92, who obviously doesn't have to pit again, or he's hoping not to anyway, so Trace just trying to nurse his tyres, maybe not battle too hard, and the slight contact, and the Sauber just about manages to get through, and Trace will let him go, possibly, or he's in rich at the moment actually, so he is pushing, nope, down to standard now, so Trace now down into 11th place. We'll see where he, what position he is in after everybody pits for a second time, as Fisi is now coming in for his pit stop for another fresh set of prime tyres, I'm pretty sure, as Trace is now still right behind the Sauber, so he's not given up just yet, but not trying any dive bombs into the bus stop chicane just yet.
And I wonder if that was a planned pit stop for Fisi, because stopping at the end of lap 12 means that he did 8 laps on the set of primes, and now he's got 10 more laps to do on his second set of primes. So I'm not sure if this was an impromptu pit stop, if he decided he just needed to get some clean air, put a fresh set of rubber on and deal with the consequences later. But yeah, he's going to have to do a solid 10 laps on this set of primes, which we know is possible. It's just not going to be easy.
I think he may well have reacted to xMattyG, who's just ahead of him at the moment. Maybe he just wants to stay within his DRS zone of the Red Bull driver. But the Brochek 96 is now coming into the pits for his pit stop a lap later. So it's not too impromptu, I don't think, Fisi Fan's pit stop, as everybody else is now peeling into the pits 1 lap later. So Fisi will have slightly more worn tyres, you have to say, because he pitted a lap earlier. But he should be able to get to the end with no problems, as the Living Dead is now behind Trace92. But we already know that Living Dead is going to struggle to get to the end of the race without pitting again, as we now have the Caterham changing his tyres as well.
I think Living Dead may struggle to finish the race at all. I don't know if you noticed, but his fuel was on -2 laps already, and we're just past the halfway point of this race. So he's going to have to do a significant amount of fuel saving if he even wants to cross the finish line at the end of lap 22.
Well spotted, Justin. I didn't see that. Wow, -2 laps of fuel. I saw him on -1 when he was up in Rich. There you go. He's in standard, -2 laps of fuel. We don't usually see that. And he is pushing like no tomorrow. I'm not sure why. But he's going to have to do, as you say, a lot of fuel saving if he wants to get to the end of the race. -2 laps of fuel round here as well. A whole lap of Spa he is missing of fuel. But 2 of them. That's crazy amount. So Living Dead is going to have to put it into lean. And there's not many places that you can put it down into lean and not lose a huge amount of time, because there's so many straights and so many high-speed corners. So Living Dead could well have to do another pit stop and push his car home.
Oh, as that's a very awkward pit entrance for TRL Limitless there. Certainly not and even more awkward for Ricky C, as he has a little bump into the barrier there. But it should be a nice, clean pit stop for Limitless here, not getting hold. 3.494 seconds, not too bad. As the Mercedes goes by him to go into his garage, I believe. And Fisi Fan here is, it looks like, okay, he's alongside the Caterham there of the Continent, and unfortunately just could not get the power down coming out of that bus stop chicane, and the Continent pulls away. And who is that? Is that the Living Dead? Nope, that's Ricky C. That's Ricky C coming out of the pits just behind Brochek and TraceMe92 as well. And Ricky C as well is also on -1 lap of fuel, which is certainly not optimal, but it's not as bad as the Living Dead. So it seems both Mercedes are struggling with fuel. It really seems like just about everybody's struggling with fuel. I don't think I've seen anybody with +1 or more as Brochek moves up the inside at the end of the Kemmel Straight there, and Maisie does the very same thing on Leobot. It seems Leobot struggling a little bit in the second half of this race after going from way down in 8th and all the way up into 5th and challenging for 4th even earlier in the race. He seems to be struggling a little bit now.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Leobot struggling at the moment. He's got xMattyG all over the back of him as well in that Red Bull. And it looks like Matty is now pulling to the inside for Pilon. Is he going to make this one stick? The Red Bull driver goes through and up into 8th position. So Matty having quite a disappointing performance, you have to say, but that was mainly down to the incident on lap 1 and having to go to the back of the field. But Rosberg's managed to do pretty well, you have to say, up into 4th place, I think, at the moment. There's a replay of Trace getting caught slightly on the curb, but getting away with it just about. And here's a replay of Fisi Francorchamps once again. They cannot be separated at all. For 15 laps, pretty much, they've been battling, apart from when Fisi was kind of dropping down the field. But once those two saw each other, they were not. They were just basically lovers. They just can't be separated. So, well, I'm sure we'll be seeing more battles from them for the next 7 laps. As Ricky C is now right behind Continent's teammate, the Trace 92, who will not be pitting one again. Well, that's his plan anyway. And Trace will have sort of the pace disadvantage because of those older prime tyres. As you can see, Ricky C going past Trace. Trace almost turning in a little bit too early there and going into the barriers, but getting away with it. He's in 6th place at the moment, and you have to say, you know, looking at the mini-map, there's quite a few more drivers that can challenge him and take away those points from him.
Yeah, and his last lap was a 48.5, which is nearly over 2 seconds slower than the fastest lap, which was just set at the end of lap 15 there. So clearly he is severely lacking in pace. Somebody who is not lacking in pace at the moment is, of course, the Living Dead, because he is on those option tires. I believe he is the only car out right now that is on the option tires. So his pace should be pretty good at the moment, and he should be able to keep cars behind him, maybe make some overtakes. But here we are, lap 16, as we're going to get a replay here of Leobot coming back at xMattyG. He's going to have the outside line as they break down now at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Very tough, but he's got the inside line now. Can Matty hang with him? No, he cannot, and he takes that position. Very impressive stuff from the sister team, the Toro Rosso.
Yeah, great move from Leobot. So we've seen some brilliant moves from Leobot this race. Unfortunately, he hasn't managed to maintain 4th position that he was up in at one point. But the Living Dead up in 2nd place at the moment on his completely alternate strategy. But you have to say his options are going to have to start running out at some point, as both the Mauritius are coming in like some sort of cavalry. Living Dead's probably looked in his mirrors and gone, Jesus. But Rosberg, I'm not sure what Rosberg's done there. He's got off the power slightly. Brochek doesn't know what to do either. And there's a bit of carnage going on between the two Mauritius and the Mercedes. Brochek doesn't want to give away the position to Rosberg. Now Ricky's come out of nowhere and is now up into 4th position. Overtakes Rosberg and has DRS, but so does Brochek. So Ricky up into 4th. His teammate's in 2nd, which I'm sure he was quite surprised about. But I'm sure Living Dead, he's got 5 more. Oh, that's Matty in the wall. That's Matty in the wall at turn 1. And I think he's had some contact with Trace 92, who turned a little bit early, and Matty clipped his rear wheel and then gone straight into the wall. So the championship leader is in the wall and having a torrid time here this afternoon for Spa.
Well, that changes everything. If things finish as they are right now, that means that, never mind taking the lead, Limitless might actually have a 10-point gap to Matty at the end of this race if he could just manage to hang on to that win. And, you got to say, looking at the gap right now, as he's already heading into the curve with no name, as the two Mercedes going side by side through that very long corner there, Ricky C with the inside line takes that position, moves up into 2nd, and now he's got that rear gunner of the Living Dead, and he is going to be blocking those Marushas, and Brochek is going to maybe have a look at the inside of one, but no, he does not, and he's going to hang back, and I imagine he's going to save what's left of his Kers there for that run down towards Blanchimont and maybe take that position at the bus stop, as we see that replay here of Fisi Fan just doing his best not to run into the back of that stationary Red Bull there. And it looks like Matty is in a bad way for sure. I think he was maybe missing his entire front wing as well. So even if he does get out of that, I think he has to pit again.
I can confirm that Matty had some damage to his front wing, but he didn't lose the entirety of it. So fortunately, I think he'll be able to carry on without going for another pit stop. So Matty just with an orange front wing at the moment, so he's lost one of his end plates, which is quite painful round Spa, you have to say, with such high-speed corners and a lot of front-end dependency with these cars. So Matty's going to be struggling for these last few laps, and I'm sure he just wants to go to the next race, if I'm honest, as Brochek is in the slipstream of the Living Dead. Rosberg's to his left, And once again, Living Dead just about managing to stay ahead, but I think Broshek actually made contact with the Living Dead on his screen. And is Rosberg going to be able to get past? And is Broshek going to go past as well? This will be interesting. Broshek is going to go up the inside, it seems, even though it looks like he lag bubbled him, which we don't like that phrase. But Rosberg's actually gone wide and completely missed his braking point for turn 1. And Living Dead is back up into what is essentially second place. Third place, because Ricky's in second. So Rosberg's dropped to 7th now. And Leobot's now up to 6th. Maisie 5th. And it's all changed again. So Rosberg's run wide and lost about 4 positions. And Broshek is now going to try and get past the Living Dead. And he's doing his teammate, Ricky C, a brilliant favour right now. And I'm sure Living Dead is going to say, hey, Ricky, you've got to help me out at some point during this season. As Maisie's come steaming through and is up into 4th place. Broshek's now down to 5th, with Leobot now looking at Broshek. And Rosberg now down to 7th. Living Dead pushing Maisie onto the grass, it looks like. Rosberg now going up the inside of Leobot. Maisie's gone wide. There's contact. And no, Maisie's out of the race. Leobot's gone spinning. And you have to say they were so close, but it's not good to see that.
Holy cow, that was unbelievable. I mean, there's a word I would use to describe everything I just saw, but it's not very PC, so I'm going to avoid using it. But man, that was pretty intense. As we see, TraceMe92 here really struggling with those tires, and it looks like he is indeed going to go ahead and make a second stop. Although it is for another set of the options, I think he's probably lost too much time as a result of those tires. So we're going to see this replay now as Rosberg, as you said, goes wide at La Source, loses heaps of time. TRL Maisie goes flying by. Leobot goes side by side using some curves now just before the entrance to Eau Rouge, and he is going to have the inside line, and he does take that position. But of course, Rosberg's going to get the DRS on the straight there. And this is Brochek going up the inside of the turn with no name. And there we see that contact, and Maisie's car is completely destroyed as a result of that, unfortunately. And here's what it looked like from the Living Dead's perspective. It looked like he just got a little bit of oversteer. Not much else. From his point of view, it was a relatively tame affair.
Yeah, so this is where Leobot now... Yeah, there's not really much Leobot could have done. He maybe could have given Maisie a little bit more room, considering he could see him run wide. But Maisie looks like he lost the back end, which then put him into Leobot, which then put him back into the wall, as Fisi went really wide, and oh my god, he almost got collected by that Ferrari in the wall there. But Fisi up into 6th place now. So those two crashing means that it's promoted Matty, the championship leader, up into what I'm assuming is about 6th or 7th place. So it'll be interesting to see where the Red Bull driver is. Limitless is still out in front by a country mile, with Ricky C in pretty much a comfortable 2nd place, and these two are still fighting. Broshek and Living Dead and TRL Rosberg. These three cannot be separated. These two Mauritius and the Mercedes is just these... I mean, Living Dead's doing a brilliant job, you have to say. Look at the tyre wear that he's having to deal with, especially his front left tyre, and he is still staying with these Mauritius. I'm sure he's going to drop off maybe in the next lap or two before the end of the race. As you can see, the traction that Broshek gets compared to the Mercedes is crazy, but I think Living Dead might just get away with it and get DRS on Broshek. But here we go. This is Continents actually on the Fisi fan. What a surprise. These guys, honestly, it's a joke. But Continents is coming back at Fisi fan, not using any more of his curves, only half of it. Fisi's used all of it, in fact. So he's not going to try and come back at Continents, or maybe his, but he's just going to rely on Slipstream. So Continents now up into 6th, Fisi fan 7th. Matty's still in 8th position with that sort of broken or half-broken front wing. I think he's struggling to catch the cars ahead now, especially as I've said before, the pace difference is not very big between all of the drivers here, and the Living Dead still maintaining 4th position at the moment. He's lost touch with Broshek by the looks of things, but Rosberg cannot get through as we fly through Pouon, and well, I think Pouon's going to be quite a painful corner to do in the next few laps with that front left tyre, but Rosberg still struggling to get past, and Fisi fan and Continents cannot be separated.
Yep, and here they go once again, and Fisi's getting that dirty... Oh no, he got the dirtier effect, got on the curb, and he did manage to save it, as here comes xMattyG now, and he's going to fly right by him, and I imagine Matty's even gotten a little bit of curves that he can use as they come down towards Blanchimont once again, and the Living Dead once again, and Rosberg, and wow, Rosberg just flies by before Blanchimont even takes that position, and I imagine he's going to defend the inside line heading into the bus stop chicane very difficult to pass around the outside as Leobot tries to prove me wrong, goes around the outside of Fisi and Matty at the bus stop chicane, pushes Matty very wide there as we lose connection to Limitless in the lead of the race, which means the Mercedes of Ricky C as Leobot now oh gosh, oh no, and it is all going wrong now for Red Bull. This is not looking good at all. It was a difficult race in Hungary for them, and once again, it looks like it's going to be another tough one here in Belgium at Spa, as Limitless, the leading Red Bull driver, loses connection with only 3 laps remaining in this race. Very unfortunate.
Absolutely just ridiculous luck from Limitless, who had driven pretty much a perfect race from start to finish, barring that little mistake. And there you go, there's the connection failed. But I'm sure Ricky C, who has never won a race in AOR, seeing that, I'm sure he would have just almost dropped his controller, to be honest. But Ricky C now in the lead of this race with only a few laps to go. And as I said earlier, his second place was safe. Now it's first place. And I'm sure he's probably not thinking a 4-second lead is safe, because he's going to be absolutely cacking his pants. But anyway, Ricky C is still in the lead at this race. And I think Broshek is in second place. And Constance's now going out the inside of the Living Dead. And they're side by side once again. Well, Living Dead side by side with everybody by the looks of things throughout this race. But he's on -1 lap of fuel still. So he is struggling. He's put it up into standard because he wants to get that 4th place. But his option tyres are absolutely going. And I cannot believe he is still on them, to be honest, Justin.
Yeah, we absolutely thought that he was going to be 2-stopping. Maybe, as you said, I thought you nailed it on the head when you said that he was going to be doing 2 5-lap option stints, but not the case. He is doing the full 10 laps on these option tires, and you can see just how much he's struggling there, as the Continent's just with way more grip. And xMattyG as well, going past Fisi Fan. Here we're going to see a replay. This is Fisi going down, and once again, it seems Fisi's just draining his curves for the Kemmel Straight, braking now at the end, and Matty just goes right around, and with the inside line for the next corner, takes that position with relative ease. But it looks like Fisi Fan's still within striking distance of Matty, as Matty runs very wide at the exit of Puan. That's going to give Fisi the opportunity to go side by side with him into this next right-hander. He's going to have the outside line, but of course he's going to have the inside line for this next corner here, and he takes that position straight back from Matty.
Good move from Fisi Fan. You can see that Matty is struggling like no other with the end plate of his front wing missing. So he's trying his best to get as many points this afternoon, but he knows that any points is going to add to his championship tally now and his lead against Limitless, which is unfortunate because it's not what we like to see. As Leobot is now within the slipstream of Matty and going a lot quicker than Matty by the looks of things, despite him being in the slipstream of the Williams driver of Fisi Fan. And Leobot looking to the outside as Ricky C has started his final lap. Leobot now trying another brilliant move. Can he make this one stick? He's on the inside of the bus stop chicane. Matty just has no reply by the looks of things. He just can't get that car turned in, but he's just about managed to stay ahead in 7th place. And you have to say, you don't really see the championship leader battling down in 7th place, but it's just been one of those races, you have to say, as Fisi Fan is now... Oh, that's the Living Dead actually off on the track, because his option tyres have absolutely gone. It's the final lap, and Living Dead... He was just 1 lap too many by the looks of things for the Mercedes driver, and he's now got Matty and Leobot about to challenge him. Leobot now getting a much better run than Matty, and Living Dead's going to come back at Fisi Fan. Fisi Fan's just a sitting duck by the looks of things. Matty and Leobot are now side by side coming towards the end of this straight. Matty braking later and staying in 7th place at the moment, but he's sniffing 5th place is Matty here, and he's probably thinking that is some fantastic, well, you wouldn't have expected 10 points, that's for sure, but Fisi's gone up the inside, Matty round the outside, Leobot on the inside, both of them, and Leobot's up into 6th. Matty stays in 7th despite overtaking somebody. He lost the position to somebody else, and Living Dead has just absolutely lost it. And he's still got -1 lap of fuel, so I wouldn't be surprised if he runs out of fuel and maybe loses a couple more positions. But Leobot is still trying to chase down Fisi Fan, and it seems like, yeah, he's run out of fuel. Living Dead has run out of fuel, so he's pushed it too hard, and he's going to finish in 10th place because there's no other runners.
Yep, yeah, that's really unfortunate, but we did kind of predict that. We did see that coming, as you mentioned earlier. 2 laps of fuel to be missing in your car around Spa is pretty serious. You got to say, though, fantastic job from the Living Dead. Even though he's not going to get the points that he maybe deserved, still just an incredible performance. He really helped out this man right here who comes across the line to get his first win in AOR, Ricky C. Fantastic job. Probably a long time coming. He's been a fantastic competitor, and it's really great to see him finally get the win, even though, unfortunately, it was because of Limitless's connection issues, but it's still great to see him on the top step finally. And again, great job by the Living Dead, who just battled with those Marushas lap after lap after lap, and just really made it difficult on them, and just kept that position secure for his teammate up ahead.
Yep, so this is where Living Dead made the mistake and then just didn't have any traction to defend. But then he did come back at Fisi Fan at one point, but he was so determined to stay ahead of him that he didn't even put it down into lean. So he's in -1 lap of fuel on the final lap of the race, and he still keeps it in standard, whereas Fisi's got it in rich because he's in optimal. And Living Dead, unfortunately, you know, it was kind of his. Well, he's put it down to lean now, but he just couldn't get to the end of the race. Matty trying to hang it around the outside, but again, with his front wing and also the tyres going off, he just couldn't get that front end in, with Leobot then taking the inside line, which meant he went up into 6th place. And this is a replay of Trace going past Citizen, is it? It looks like possibly. He set the fastest first sector of the race as well, has Trace, so I'm guessing he's on some fresher option tyres, is he? And we're now going to see Ricky C, who took the victory, but I'm sure it probably doesn't feel like a very deserved victory. I mean, I think he has deserved it over the course of the last few seasons, but with Limitless disconnecting, it's kind of, I don't know, it might feel a little bit hollow. But Ricky C does take the victory and 25 points from the Belgian Grand Prix, ahead of Brochek, 2.6 seconds, who comes home for 18 points. Tiro Rosberg, a great comeback drive for him, only 3.2 seconds off the win in the end in 3rd. The Continents finishes in 4th and actually beats Fisi Fan after their sort of race-long battle. Leobot finishes in 6th place ahead of xMattyG, the championship leader somehow still the championship leader, but he comes home with 6 points. Tracy92 finishes in 8th position, Citizen in 9th, the Living Dead trundling home in 10th position, and unfortunately Limitless, Maisie and Minty did not finish, with KPTK not starting, and it's a shame to see Maisie not finish because he was having a very strong drive from what I saw in that highlights video. But Justin, that was an interesting race, and I have to say it was quite exciting.
Yeah, absolutely, and from start to finish as well. There was really no downtime whatsoever in that race, but just fantastic job from the Marussia boys to get a double podium from them. 33 points for Marussia, fantastic result for them.
The Drivers' Championship, Matty now leads Limitless by 21 points, with Ricky C promoting himself up into 3rd with that race victory. Rosberg now down to 4th after 3rd, but Ricky C obviously scoring 25 points. Fisi Fan up into 5th, and putting Minty back down into 6th place. Leobot and Brochek, KPTK as well, all non-movers, with the Continents moving himself up to 10th. And Maisie, the only one in the relegation zone at the moment, and unfortunately for him, he probably would have pulled himself nearer to getting out of there had he finished where he was probably about 5th or 6th place. So unfortunately for him, he scored no points this afternoon. And well, you have to say it's still close in the Drivers' Championship. 21 points between Matty and Limitless, and there's still quite a few races left. As we now look at the Constructors' Championship, Red Bull still looking very strong. No movers at all apart from Caterham, who moved themselves ahead of Sauber. But we've got quite a few races left to go, Justin, and anything can happen in this championship, as we've already seen.
Yeah, and Mercedes and Marussia now crucially only separated by 10 points. Prior to this race, they were separated by, it looks like 17 points. So Marussia doing everything they can to try and close that gap down and maybe get 2nd in the Constructors' Championship, steal it right at the end of the season.
Exactly. So next time we'll be going to the Italian Grand Prix, where I'm sure there's going to be a lot of slipstream, DRS and everything else mixed into the action. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And I have to say, Justin, thank you very much for commentating with me today.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure as always.
It has, and we'll see you next time for the Italian Grand Prix. Bye-bye.